Just a few words of introductory remarks before we have some incredible panels for all of you this evening. I know probably most of the people in this room, but for those of you who I haven't met, I'm Ted Kennedy. I'm the state senator for this district, and I'm the co-convener together with Sarah Bishop Della Ventura, and I know together we want to thank you for coming to this Shoreline Economic Development Summit. We all know that Connecticut is facing some important challenges, but we also know that we have in this region some incredible assets. We hear about the world-class universities, the incredible education system, the incredible workforce, our geographic location. We have a lot of things going for us, things that other parts of the country could only dream of having. And I think our job is to really figure out how to convert some of those assets into real economic opportunities for our area. So what we've done tonight is invite people from a variety of different backgrounds, types of businesses, different backgrounds, political backgrounds, to come together to brainstorm about what we can focus on, how we can identify specific issues that we can all work on together, how business and government can work together more collaboratively, and the like. So I just want to again say thank you all for coming. We're going to have time at the end for some comments and questions, as well as I know the moderators are going to try to keep the panels. We have a lot to cover, and we don't want to be rude, but we want to keep the panels moving on time. We've got a tight schedule. There will be time at the end for some questions and comments and ideas. And I also want to point out that we have evaluation forms. Did everyone get an evaluation form when they came in? This is an important part of what we're trying to do. We really want to listen to you. We really want to know what's on your mind, how we can be more responsive, both in terms of the Shoreline Chamber and the work that Sarah and Ed Lazarus and the economic development folks who helped organize this event, but as me as your representative. And I do know, just before I turn the program over to Sarah, I want to recognize a couple of our government leaders here tonight. I see Lonnie Reed. Thank you for coming, Lonnie. I know Noreen Kokaruda is here. Please stand up so everyone can see you and know who their representatives are. Noel Bishop is here from Westbrook. Noel, thank you for coming. And Jamie Cosgrove is here from Brantford. Are there any other elected officials here? Because one of the things we're trying to do is obviously an important part of what we're trying to do is connect people with one another. But thank you very much for coming this evening. And I'll turn the, there was a couple other things I wanted to go over. Okay, you all have a program in front of you. You see what we're trying to do here. After the opening remarks, which we're halfway done with, we're going to have a brief economic update of our region, a snapshot of where we are, what types of industries are we talking about, what types of industries show the most promise for growth, etc. And then we're going to have a panel on the challenges and opportunities that we face. Developing our local workforce. We hear time and time again that we have businesses that are desperately seeking qualified people for their companies, and we want to know what we can do to address that. And we want to figure out what we can do, what are the barriers to advancing our real estate and infrastructure assets. We'll have some time at the end to talk about next steps, and again for evaluation, adjournment, and networking. So at this point, I'll turn the program over to my co-convener, Sarah Bishop Della Ventura. Thank you all.
So on behalf of myself and Ted again, I just want to reiterate and say thank you all for coming. This is an amazing turnout. I'm so glad you could all be here tonight to join us. I'm going to do this very quickly. We're good. That's quite all right. So is it on? No, it's green. I am not the tech person. I can speak loudly enough if you guys can hear me, I think. Okay. Anyways, so some of the things that we're going to discuss tonight and what we have that we want to get out of, Ted wants to get, and other business members want to get out of tonight and this evening are to enhance the business climate and obviously in our region, highlight our strategic assets, share our ideas and insights. This is important. This is why we are all here together. We want to hear from you. We want people to network. We all face the same business challenges, the opportunities. So this is important. We want to get your insight this evening. That's why those evaluation forums are so important at the end of the night. Identify the most common barriers to business growth. Strategize about ways that government and business can work together to improve our competitiveness, and to formulate a local business advocacy agenda and identify new strategies for collective action. Again, we're all Shoreline business owners. We are here to help each other. We want nothing more than our businesses to succeed and to thrive in this economy. And without us working together and collaborating, we're not going to know what each other's challenges and opportunities are. We all face the same things in many aspects. So we really want to hear from you. There's people in this room that you'll meet tonight. We'll have introductions for the chamber, which I'm going to go over next. Which I do want to say on the invitation, I think for the first one out, it said I was the co-chair of the Shoreline Chamber. I am no longer the co-chair of the Shoreline Chamber of Commerce. I am the past chair with Mr. Canosa over here in the front row. And, but Ian Perry, who I don't believe is here this evening, he's the new chair of the chamber. But when this first was developed and planned, I was still the co-chair. So I am just a past chair at this point. I'm not as important anymore. For the Shoreline Chamber of Commerce, Ed Lazarus, who is here, wave. The chamber is here, and we represent both. For many of you who don't know, the Brantford and Guilford chambers merged 2 years ago successfully. And we are now the Shoreline Chamber of Commerce. And as you see, we represent over 587 businesses. We have and host over 50 chamber-sponsored events a year in Guilford and Brantford. Some of the chamber areas of focus are marketing opportunities for business, networking opportunities, information on government-related issues, personal and professional development, and of course, we help make the community a better place to work and live. Some of the events that we sponsor over the year, just a few without the exact events, we have Young Professionals Group. We have an amazing nonprofit council, and Jim Lamb is here who can speak more to that. If you are part of a nonprofit organization, I'm sure he'd love to speak with you. We have a networking group and business after hours. We have a women in business group that meets monthly. And then we have our chamber university. And these are just a few things that we're highlighting as part of the chamber. There we go. If you are not a member of the Shoreline Chamber, I welcome you, and please ask that you speak with Ed, Michelle, Anna. They're all here. They have chamber packets to pass out. It's an amazing organization. It really is beneficial. They work really hard, and the networking opportunities for both B2B and B2C are endless, and it really is a beneficial asset to your company. So please do speak with one of them after the event if you're not a chamber member already. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Ted.
So very quickly, what we want to cover in the time that we have, again, is what are the challenges and what are the opportunities? What types of businesses are succeeding and why? Do incentives work or not? What are the specific government policies and business regulations that are hindering businesses? We've heard a lot about how we live in a high tax state, that we live in a highly regulated state, but we want to try to be specific about these regulations so that we can meet and address them. We talked about developing our local workforce. You know, and to what extent is the site location decisions dependent on the need for skilled workers, the proximity to New Haven or other metropolitan areas, and again, enhancing our real estate and infrastructure assets, trying to understand what the key drivers are for commercial real estate development. We're here in Stony Creek Brewery because this is a success story, a former brownfield that has been successfully redeveloped, and this is not unlike many projects that are going on around our state. So we want to know how did this project succeed and why, so we can try to replicate that. And finally, Lindy Lee Gold is here. Lindy, please stand up. Lindy Lee is here, is your personal contact for the state of Connecticut. Now, I've heard from countless numbers of business people in the district. Yes, she here, I told her to bring 200 business cards. She is here from the state, and she specializes in these programs to help businesses understand whether it's a Small Business Express, whether it's a Step Up program, whether it's apprenticeship programs, the Manufacturing Innovation Fund and the like. Please come and introduce yourself to Lindy before the end of the evening and exchange business cards, because she can help you navigate through the bureaucracy that is the state of Connecticut, because that's one of the objectives that we're trying to accomplish here tonight. So at this point, I will turn the program back over to Sarah.
Okay, this is going to be quick and short. Ginny Kozlowski is the CEO of the Greater New Haven EDC and Rex Development. She is. So I told Ginny this evening, I'm not going to go and give, she sent me a bio and it was beautiful, it was wonderful, she's got a lot of experience, but I'm not going to talk much about Ginny and what she does. She can go over that because we're short on time. But as I said, she is the CEO and she does a lot for businesses and developing businesses and the workforce, and she understands a lot of the needs, the opportunities and the challenges that we all face. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ginny.
It's always great when you come up to a microphone and you press the button for your PowerPoint presentation and it comes up. Good evening. Thank you very much for letting me be a part of this evening's event. My name is Ginny Kozlowski. I'm the Executive Director of Rex Development, which is the regional economic development entity that serves from Milford to Madison to Meriden. We've been around since 1996. One of our responsibilities for the entire region is to come up with a comprehensive economic development strategy. One of the things about today's event is wondering if our strategies align with what's actually going on in the field. So we're hoping to learn some things as well. So like I said, it's a public-private partnership. We represent the 15 communities as well as the private sector. Our offices are in New Haven, but that's only where we park our cars and start from, but we travel the entire region. One of the things that I was asked is to give a little bit of a snapshot of our demographics. And if you could look at the chart, and I know it's a little bit hard to see, but your region currently represents about 83,000 folks. And what is a concern for us when you're thinking about your big plans is to look at the projected in 2020. You're going to see a slight dip in the number of residents. And one of the things that's really important, and I hope we'll discuss tonight, is how to make our region grow. Not just these 4 towns, but the entire region. If you look at your households, there's a slight dip, so we need to have people to come together and move into your towns. But one of the things in the region which is really great is your household income. Of the 15 towns, you have some of the highest household income in the region. Then we come to yet a slight challenge. The median age in the region is 47.25, and the region is 40. This is a great thing that we have a stable workforce and a stable neighborhoods. However, we want to build and attract more opportunity for younger folks. The region is 40. Our youngest town, which is New Haven, the median is 29. But we need to bring in some more younger folks as we are all going to age out of our workforce. Employment data by cluster. The benefit of this region is that we do have diversity in terms of our cluster of employment. 50% is made up of bioscience and life science, which for the folks in the room from the hospitals and the bio companies, we love you. Our next highest percentage is higher ed, which are our university. We love them as well. We're hoping everybody feels the love today and that no one ever thinks of leaving Connecticut. 12% is business and finance. 10% is advanced manufacturing. 9% is advanced materials. 1% is agribusiness. And then 3% is arts, entertainment, and tourism. But to this region, if you were to apply this pie chart, your arts, entertainment, and tourism would be significantly higher. So when we look at where our growth opportunities are coming from in the 2013 SEDS, Bioscience is a growing investment in the state of Connecticut and also in New Haven County. If you look at the pie chart, you can see that there's 59% of the bioscience companies are in New Haven County, and we want to give a big shout out to Mount Sinai. I know they're in the room. Thank you. And if you compare us to the rest of the state, certainly we have the majority of those companies here. Our challenge is making sure that they have the funding, the resources, and the talent to stay here and to grow, and that we can support another business like Alexion as it moved down to downtown New Haven. One of the things that Lindy Lee wanted to make sure that I shared is about the Business Express program. In the region, there was 45 Small Business Express awarded, which represented $7 million in investment, generated 217 new jobs, and retained 597 jobs in the region. Those are just Ted's towns. And when I say region, I am saying that this is all Ted's world, so it's Ted's towns. You're now king of the world. So in terms of supporting this effort, this congressional district, which is Rosa Dolores, Congressional District number 3, is the 14th largest recipients of grants from the National Institutes of Health, which if you look at Connecticut compared to the rest of the country, New Haven County is a very small area, and to be the 14th largest recipients, that's critically important to our continued growth in bioscience. Within the bioscience sector, it breaks down into a number of areas: diagnostics and devices, which you're all familiar with Medtronics, clinical research organizations, life science-based consulting, and I saw Core Informatics, Josh, which again is a success story for the region, that we want to see more IT-based healthcare initiatives, and we want to see our healthcare and biosectors continue to grow. Here's a sampling. Some of these companies you may have heard of or may not have heard of, but there are companies that are in this region. Isoplexis is a very small company that probably started about 4 years ago, and we were working with their fellows, and now they're up to 20 plus employees. So those are the kind of trajectory we would like to see as the biotech starts to get hold in the region. Our next success in the region is tech, and it's growing fast. The need for space to expand, talent, which is probably our largest challenge, transportation, housing, all of these things are going to become important components to keeping these businesses that start here and keeping them here. They are targets of acquisition. I'm sure many of you have heard from Cambridge or San Francisco, comes into a region, identifies an acquisition, and the next thing we know that they're moving into a new home. So we need to do everything collectively to keep all of these businesses here. One of our other challenges is transportation. Just to give you a sense, 39 million riders on the New Haven line annually. And any of you who have been on some of the trains, you know that sometimes all 39 million seem to be traveling with you at the same time. Amtrak station in New Haven is the 10th busiest Amtrak station in the US, which is very impressive. And it's very impressive around the Northeast corridor to keep the line coming from Boston to New Haven to New York and not bypass this region, because our economic vitality would be awful. There's over 43 million bus riders. Not enough of us use the bus because of the folks who travel in the morning into New Haven on 95. It's still very crowded. But if we had better transportation systems and routes, more of us would tend to leave our cars at home and help stimulate the economy. One of the challenges that doesn't really get a lot of attention are the reverse commuters coming out of New Haven into the region. June is here from Madison Beach Hotel, and they have an ongoing challenge in terms of getting their workforce from their homes into the hotel. So I think transportation is just not into the major employment areas, it's transportation out so that workers can come into our communities. For those of you who do not know how many students are enrolled in our institutes of higher education and how much employment is directly generated by higher ed, just look at Yale University. They have a little bit more than 12,000 students, and they have 14,000 employees. That's a significant number. The number obviously at Southern is much smaller, but all those jobs have a huge economic impact in the region and even beyond the region. The one slide we did not talk about, which is important, that I just want to touch on, is healthcare. We did not really focus in on Yale New Haven health system, but you put Yale University and the health system together, and they're really the region's two largest employers. And we need to figure out a way how to keep them here and to keep them growing so that they continue to attract students and investment and continue to serve our community. Bill Villano is here from Workforce Alliance, and if you don't know Bill, there he is. You should make a point of knowing Bill. Bill runs Workforce Alliance, and it has many programs that can help you hire additional employees and with incumbent training and some incentives to grow your workforce. So if you don't know Bill Villano, after you meet Lindy, go meet Bill. So a couple of things that Rex has done to help with preparing the workforce. We worked with Gateway Community College to develop a web certificate program. The first class started in January. We have about 9 students. The plus to this program, it's about $3,500. If you were to go to General Assembly in New York, it's the same course is about $10,000. And the commute is far, far closer. We also have a bioscience career ladder at Southern Connecticut State University to prepare our students who are coming out with bio degrees to actually be workforce ready to get jobs in Achilleon, New Haven Pharmaceuticals, Alexion, because that's important to make sure that our education system is meeting our needs of our employers. We partner with CURE, and Susan Frauhauser could not join us tonight. When you finish meeting Bill, you should meet Susan, because we are your resources for this information. The New Haven Manufacturers Association, Jerry Klepper, is somebody that if you haven't met, you should. They meet every other Thursday at the Graduate Club at 12, and they have great speakers, and it's a very low-cost investment, and I'm willing to bet the amount of time that you spend getting to meet the folks at New Haven Manufacturers will pay off 3 or 4 times the amount of time that you spend. And then presentations at local colleges and university, they're a great resource. They have interns, they can do projects for you. Make sure you reach out to them to know that they have in terms of what they have prepared for the workforce and how you can leverage those assets. Thank you. This is a map in case anyone is not clear. We are back on the map as it relates to tourism as part of New England. And the blue part is where we are today. And I want to just thank you. And I'll turn it back over to Sarah.
I'm only up here to introduce Tom Gagliardi. He needs no introduction.
Well, height adjustment. I'm also sorry about the age averaging. I don't help that 41 much. Kind of a bipartisan Republican in any event. We've got a very positive team. I believe that the state of Connecticut needs to be talking about it's half full, it's not half empty. We've got direction and we need to move within it. If I can have my team join me up here. We have 4 very diverse industries. You okay there, Ted? Thank you. I got them all. I've got Joan. We're good? Todd, you're on first. Doesn't matter where you sit. So as they're coming in, to my right is Joan Esnault, if I'm saying it correctly, as you can tell with Madison Beach Hotel. Todd is getting squared away. Roxanne, I'm sure most of you know the iconic Roxanne, and then we have Steve Stewart. I'm going to have Todd speak to you first. One of the slides that was up there, Mount Sinai was up there. It's basically a genetic testing lab. They do over 50,000 samples. They're part of Mama and Papa Sinai. When you hear they have the resources in back. They started here in 2014, 3 employees, they're up to 40. They're in the world of nanotechnology, M2M, massive database, and they're doing things that are extremely, extremely exciting. And if you would, just a nice hand for Todd Arnold from Mount Sinai.
Thanks very much. I think one of the things that, first of all, I want to say is thanks to Ginny and to Terry and to everyone locally who's been an amazing help. And I also want to thank Jamie, despite the fact that he's actually staying when I talk. He always leaves when I talk, but he looks like he's going to stay. So other than the fact that I need psychological help because Jamie leaves every time I come up on the podium, I think I'm doing okay. I think one of the nice things about where we are in terms of being in Branford is, you know, you look at a place like Mount Sinai that's got a really strong presence in New York City. Why Branford, Connecticut? Well, there are a number of reasons, and Ginny articulated a lot of those and pointed them out to us, and that's one of the reasons that Sinai is here. Not the least of which is that lab space is a little bit less expensive in Branford than it is in Manhattan or in Westchester County, things of that nature. And the other thing that we're very proud of those 40 individuals, the vast majority, I'd say well north of 95%. I know there's not much space between 95 and 100, but those folks are Connecticut-based employees. There have been essentially no one who has transferred from Sinai to Connecticut. So it's to our credit of the skill sets that we have in the state. And the other thing that's been really phenomenal with the state is they've been able to give us some economic help in order for us to get into the building, to build out the building, to get the necessary resources and infrastructure for us to do the high throughput DNA sequencing that we can do at the site. Along with that are some pretty aggressive hiring targets between now and several years out. And all of the elements that are there in terms of attracting people to the area and retaining people in the area are really acute and important for us. And it's not just the biotech jobs, it's a place to live. This is kind of a nice view, you know, out here. It's a little nicer than Kendall Square in Cambridge because you can actually see water as opposed to thinking it's out there somewhere. And I think we're very shy about what we have, certainly here in the Shoreline and in Connecticut as a whole. I think we need to be a little more open and a little more assertive in saying what we have and the good things that are happening here. Next generation sequencing would not have happened if it weren't for the Shoreline. 454 Life Sciences, my immediately past employer, were the company that made next generation sequencing. And the next iteration of that came out of Guilford and Jonathan Rothberg's group with Ion Torrent. So there's obviously plenty of brain power and tech power here. You've heard about infrastructure, and one of the things that's big is you don't have the advantages like they do in New York of being able to grab the subway or a bus or something like that to get to Branford. And it's interesting when folks come up from Manhattan who've not been here, they're like, oh, can I just like grab a cab or grab a bus to where you are? I'm like, no, not so much. So it's sort of that type of thing that the infrastructure discussions that we've talked about, it's not just getting from here to New York or here to Boston, it's from getting to the Branford train station to a place where people work. So, I mean, I'm very proud to be here. I think it's a wonderful thing. This is phenomenal, seeing the number of people out here. I'm really excited to be on the panel with all of these folks who've been very, very successful in the area. And if any of you want to learn more about next generation sequencing, I'll be around until Ed tells me to leave.
Thank you. Audience applause.
Thanks, Tom.
So we've gone into the world of genetics, which is upon us, and a great success story. I'd like to shift over now to Joan. The Madison Beach Hotel, 2006, was purchased. And it was knocked down because there was nothing you could do except knock it down. You went through the Great Recession, and now you're opening up a hotel on the beach in 2011. It's all yours, Joan. Let me just say one thing. Joan has been in hospitality for 30 years. Marriott, Foxwoods, 30, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Holding your age well.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So hospitality is a strong background for her, and this is what her career has been about. Go ahead, Jim.
And I love the hospitality industry. I've been in a long time. Thank you for being here. I'm here to talk about the Madison Beach Hotel and tourism. A couple of facts about tourism industry. Tourism for the state of Connecticut represents $14 billion in revenue for the state. We have travelers that coming into the state in tourism that really spend a lot of money here, and it's great. 1.6 million of that is in revenues, is in taxes, 513 million in state taxes, and 345 million in local taxes. Tourism brings in a lot of a huge revenue stream for the state, so it's a great industry. Connecticut hotels, however, pay an occupancy tax of 15%. In 2012, it was 11 it was 12%, but now it's up to 15%. And keep in mind that this is one of the highest occupancy taxes in the country. It's even higher than New York. New York is 14.75. Our neighboring states are lower. Rhode Island is 13%, and Massachusetts is 8.45. So our occupancy tax is one of the highest. And we have to keep in mind also that the hotels are a huge economic driver for all the communities they're in. Our hotel, for example, we support a lot of the local purveyors. All of our operations that we are in the hotel, we buy locally. So we're a big economic driver too in that way. And also our guests that frequent all of the entities in the community bring in so much revenue for the community too. So they go to the restaurants, they go to the attractions, they go to our retail. So again, a lot of revenue. Some of the challenges and opportunities are, like I had mentioned before, the 15% occupancy tax. That goes right into the general fund, and legislature then allocates a portion of it into the tourism for marketing tourism. What we would like to see is a percentage of that, an actual percentage. I know the Connecticut Lodging Association is proposing 13% or 15 million to go back into tourism so that we can really work on how to get our more travelers here and not have them go through the state to New York, or our New Yorkers that go through the state up to either Newport or the Cape. We really want them to show them what a beautiful shoreline we have here. And a lot of times we get so many people at our hotel that cannot believe that Madison and what it has to offer in all the neighboring areas here. So that's really a challenge for us. Also, workforce recruitment, which is coupled with transportation and housing. As Ginny had mentioned, the housing is an issue for us. We employ 90 people off-season, 140 in-season, but we cannot find enough people to really hold these hourly jobs. So we have to look for interns from the Philippines to come in, or college students. Well, that's great, but when we bring in these interns, we have no place to house them. So we end up renting places around the area, and we become the landlords and sublet to these interns and we charge them a very small amount because we really need their help. And college students are great, but they leave mid-August to go back to school. So that's in our high season. So our high season goes May through October. So again, that housing is really an affordable housing. Madison is wonderful, but the average house there is $400,000. $400,000 million. Not quite. We're not there yet. We're not going to be up there.
God bless Madison.
So there's opportunity there. And then transportation, as Ginny mentioned, we have a lot of employees that come up from New Haven, and they take the train or a bus, which takes them an hour. But then when a lot of the housekeepers are dishwashers, but then when they're on Sunday afternoons, when the trains aren't running or the buses, we have to shuttle them to the Guilford train station to get back to New Haven. So if a portion of that 15% occupancy tax could go towards better transportation, that would be, obviously a much more help. The last is the rate of pay. The minimum wage, we're not anti-minimum pay wage because our employees make above the minimum wage. But it's the tipped servers and bartenders whose wages keep going up, where, again, we're not the same as a McDonald's or a Friendly's. Our tipped employees really make a very good commission in their jobs. And to have legislature dictate those wages is tough, because then we have to, again, make up that revenue for those, for increasing our expenses. Tourism is a critical component for the Connecticut economy. It's a strong economic driver for jobs and revenue, and it's a great place to live and work. And we really want to support that and continue to invest in these resources so it can be a strong industry for us.
Like in church. Thank you, Jen. If I referenced the printing or packaging industry, there's a few bankers here. They'd probably cringe, wouldn't want to lend to it at all. Steve Stewart is kind of the exception to that. I'm going to let Steve give you a little brief history on what they're doing, but he is in that print industry, which seems like, where is it going other than consolidating and shrinking? Steve, if you will, please.
Yeah. So, is this on? You hear it?
You're good.
Talk right into it. Okay. So we we frequent the Madison Beach Hotel. I go to the bookstore, so we support our local industries.
You're really stroking it, huh?
I haven't had any genetic testing though.
We can set you up with that.
Okay. We're a manufacturer. So we started our business 20 years ago, spring of '96. And we are currently Tom told me I had to keep this short, so we are currently a 4-operation business. We have 4 different companies. We have 2 in Connecticut, 1 in North Branford, where we started, 1 in Guilford, right at exit 59. We have about 350 employees. We're about $100 million in revenue, just to frame it a little bit. We really started our business with some new technology for the packaging industry. So we deal with most of the large consumer products companies across the United States, from PepsiCo to Coca-Cola to Procter & Gamble, companies like that. As I said, we've been in business about 20 years. We started in Connecticut. Our expansion was first in North Branford. We're up on 139. Back in 2010, 2011, we actually decided we needed more space. We took an 80,000 square foot building in Guilford and renovated that and moved some equipment and put some brand new technology in there. We had an opportunity later that year to get into a different segment of our business. We're in the pressure sensitive business. We're in the shrink sleeve labeling business. And we originally went to Guilford to explore getting into the shrink sleeve business. That was one of our plans. We had an opportunity come up in upstate New York, and we wound up acquiring a company. We found very quickly that we needed different technology, and that technology that we found in New York, upstate New York, this is right outside of Buffalo, we really could not bring into the state of Connecticut. There were all sorts of reasons. They had permits for this technology. It's a solvent-based technology. They needed afterburners, and we couldn't get that where we are on the Shoreline. So we acquired that company. In 2014, and this is kind of an interesting twist, we had developed some technology with a Canadian company. And this was really for the medical packaging business. So we've been all consumer products. We had an opportunity to, with one of our big customers up in Minneapolis, to get into the medical packaging business. And we developed technology that they really wanted. The interesting part of this was we had to make a decision about where this technology was going to go. And originally it was planned to go into Guilford. We had the state of New York. I grew up in New York. I never thought this would have happened, but they actually came to us and offered us all sorts of incentives to bring that technology and really open that business in Amherst, New York, right out of Buffalo. So it came in the form of grants for capital expenditures and training grants. So as long as we committed to and maintained certain employee counts, and the business has done very well in the meantime, so we were awarded these grants. Now, we didn't know, I have since found out that the state has certain things, but New York actually made it incredibly easy for us to do that. So other than that, so we have these 4 companies that are growing and growing pretty nicely. As I said, we have about 350 employees. So in terms of what we deal with, hiring is a big issue for us. We have manufacturing jobs. As I said, we probably have about 200 plus in the state of Connecticut now. They're good, solid jobs. They're full-time jobs. They're, we have always insisted on health care, medical benefits, and retirement plans for our people. So we try to take good care of our employees. We need to take good care of our employees. So, it's a business that's worth growing and a good business for the state of Connecticut, we think. In terms of some of the issues that we deal with, healthcare is a major issue for us, so the cost of healthcare. Every single year we're faced with a 25 to 30% increase for the same benefits, so we can't absorb that, and we can't pass it along to our people. So we are faced almost every year with increased costs, but reduced benefits for our people. That is, I don't know how government can help us with that, but that's one thing that's a big issue for us. It comes up every single year. Taxes, state, local taxes, you really have to keep us competitive. We have to be competitive with other states. That our competitors are across the United States. We service firms largely in the U.S., but down into Mexico and in Canada. We have to stay competitive. Hiring, like I said, is a big issue. Transportation, the good news is we're in Connecticut. The bad news is we're in Connecticut. The highways can be really difficult. Air travel down on the shoreline we find hard. We wind up traveling from LaGuardia, or we go to Hartford, but nothing locally, so it's every time we take a trip, and our guys travel a lot, so that's any way we can help improve that. And then lastly, we are a manufacturer. We use a lot of power, and electric utility reliability has been a big issue for us over the years. It has gotten better. It was better this year because we didn't really have any storms or horrible weather, but that's been a big issue for us, just reliability of electricity. So I thank you. That's
You were good.
time.
Yeah, no, you were very good. The Donald didn't interrupt. We were all right.
Okay, good.
You keep hearing transportation. It's obviously very important. Infrastructure is very important. Manufacturing, which was what New England cut its teeth on, manufacturing still has a multiple of 1 to 1. So if there are 12 people involved in manufacturing, there are 200 in Connecticut, I believe, Steve, you said approximately.
Yeah, right.
It means there's 200 other industries that are affected by that. It's a total ripple effect. It's the highest. So we want to keep that manufacturing together. I don't know if any of you, do you remember Nick's Bar? Anybody remember Nick's Bar? Well, that's where our next iconic guest, Roxanne, started. Am I correct?
That's what I should take up.
I'm sure you all know Roxanne taking Nick's Bar, converting it from the tin roof. The awards have been national, local, all over the place. And it's amazing in the world of competition, internet. We'll let you run with it from there, Roxanne. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, it's nice to see so many business people brought together, interested in thinking about what our opportunities and challenges are. And I want to thank you, Ted, for putting this together. And Ginny, where's Ginny? Ginny and I used to work together on the tourism board. And, it was great to see that presentation. So I generally occupy the space of delusional optimist. I'm going to shed that outfit for tonight and go to the cranky. And in that, we represent a small business. We employ about 40 people. We've been around for 25 years. We host about 250 authors from around the world in the bookstore. Over 50% of our revenues are from outside a 15-mile radius. We have been very fortunate. We're one of the largest bookstores in the country, which I always say is like being a giant among midgets. When we opened, there were 9,000 independent bookstores, and there are now approximately 1,500. So if I stick to my optimistic just for a minute, the good news is that Madison, the Shoreline, and Connecticut have been very good to R.J. Julia's. They take seriously the idea of shopping local in a way that many other communities have not, or we wouldn't exist, and they understand. And I think increasingly people understand that our downtowns, with their locally owned businesses, add a quality to our lives that matter on a day-to-day basis. So that's going to be the end of the good news. Here's the challenge for a business like ours. One is, I went and looked up all the taxes that we pay, and they equal 119% of our profit. And what I'm including in that is Social Security, federal unemployment, property taxes, state unemployment taxes, which alone equal 20% of our net income. Because it was 15%, and then because Connecticut didn't pay back the federal government, all of us had to pay sort of an extra amount in an unpredictable way that just came out of your payroll. So I think, I was trying to think of a solution to that, and one of the things that Rosa DeLore and I had talked about probably 20 years ago is the equivalent of an earned income credit for small businesses, meaning if you're paying more than 100% in payroll of your income in payroll taxes, there ought to be some kind of earned income credit or some way to think about that differently. I mean, it's certainly our obligation, but Connecticut is one of the highest cost per capita government that exists in the country, and we're all paying for that. The second thing that a business like ours needs is a happy, flush consumer, right? I don't think we're a discretionary product, but other people think we're discretionary. I put it up there with food. And I think increasingly the worry will be that we have the prospect of $31,000 per capita in debt, and people who are in a position to leave might, and in fact are starting to leave, and those that are staying are feeling worried and squeezed. And for those of us in the retail business, that problem with the consumer not being happy is certainly a problem. The other thing that occurred to me is, as we've been hiring, and I read a lot about millennials, not just because I have one, but all the data shows they want to live in metropolitan areas. They want urban centers. Our urban centers are the weakest link in our state. And the other challenge for a business like ours is our growth is going to come from the growth within the state, and we haven't had that growth, and we certainly haven't had that growth in the 20 to 35 age group. And since our baby boomers are like shedding us and going down to Florida, making sure our cities, I happen to live in New Haven, which is doing a pretty good job of attracting that young person, but Hartford and Bridgeport are certainly not places either for housing or entertainment what people are looking for. The minimum wage, so I'm a good Democrat. I believe in the minimum wage being where it is, but I think there needs to be carve-outs, and I'll give you one little, which maybe seems silly to you, example. We provide free gift wrap. We hire gift wrappers. We pay $10,000 out to gift wrappers during the Christmas season. We have to pay them the same, there's no exception for that. So the 15-year-old that's coming in to gift wrap for the season, or somebody who's just doing it, and it seems to me there ought to be some consideration for the size of the business, or other carve-outs that might exist for any of our businesses while you're training them, or any of those other things. Our biggest challenge, I don't know what you can do about, we're in a business where we compete with a company that considers our product their loss leader. So they lose hundreds of millions of dollars on the sale and shipping of books. I don't know what you can do about that except stop buying from them. The opportunities for us are, I do think, exactly what a number of us have said. The quality of life here for many of us is something that's wonderful and important to preserve, but it has to be done on a fiscally sound basis. The opportunity, I think, fiscally in Connecticut is that so much is wrong that there's got to be only up, hopefully, to go. And I would hope that the state would run their business like most of you run your businesses, and everyone here runs their business. Thank you.
Well, I think we were blessed to end up with 4 different panelists, success stories. There's commonality to it. There's certainly take-home value. And I'd like to just thank the 4 of them, and one more round of applause for all the panelists. We are officially dismissed.
Excellent.
Our next moderator is Al Canosa. Where is Al? He should be up here. Did you leave, Al? I knew you didn't leave.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to mention one thing. Sarah mentioned that her and I were co-chair of the great Shoreline Chamber of Commerce that was merged a couple of years ago, successfully merged. And now we are now called the past chairs, but I call myself the retiring chair. The only thing is I can never find a place to sit yet, so that's what I'm doing here tonight. With that, I'd like to introduce the panelists tonight. We're going to be talking about the development of our local workforce. And the first person I'd like to call up is Kevin Myatt. Kevin is Senior Vice President of Human Resources at Yale University. Yale New Haven Hospital, I should say. I found out tonight that we have many mutual acquaintances. I just met them tonight. People at Quinnipiac University, people at Markham. And so I want to welcome him tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hugo Varroa of Wilson Arms. Hugo. I'm sorry, Hugo. Hugo was in a business I was in many years ago. I worked for Olin Corporation, and I was in Winchester Division. And Hugo works for Wilson Arms. He's the president and chief executive officer. The company's been around for over 60 years. It's a real tribute to see a company last that long, especially with all the economic ups and downs that we go through. So I want to welcome Hugo here tonight. Thank you, Hugo. Bud Torello. Bud Torello, he's founder of a company called PBS. But Bud was a neighbor of mine many years ago. He was also president and chief executive officer of Anthem Blue Cross, which was located in North Haven, Connecticut. And now it's the site of Quinnipiac University, in which I'm proud to say I am involved with that university as a trustee. The next person is Josh Jabal. Josh is CEO of Core Informatics, leading provider of data management solutions to clients engaged in scientific research. And so I'd like to welcome him here tonight as well. Thank you. This is our panel. As you can see, we have a diverse background of people here tonight. Manufacturing, software development, healthcare benefits, and marketing, and also data analysis. What I like to do is set the stage for our panel. And I got an opening comment I like to make. Connecticut has long been considered a desirable location for business because of its highly skilled workforce and excellent quality of life. In recent years, however, its position as a hub for top-notch skilled professionals has been under increasing strain. Businesses are experiencing greater difficulty in finding and hiring a workforce suitable to their needs. The state is experiencing a two-pronged demographic challenge, which is a declining in the young people. At the same time, the baby boomers, which I'm one of them, are preparing for retirement, which I'm not. But consequently, the available of skilled workers in the state of Connecticut has become a critical, important economic issue. In addition to the demographic shift, as mentioned, the state of Connecticut is faced with controlling a deficit situation and developing a budget for the future that will bring the state back into a positive situation. This is the situation we face. This panel has a tough job. So I decided to organize our discussions in 4 topics. We have 30 minutes, and I got about 6 minutes a topic, and so we're going to start. The topics are Connecticut's labor market. But I'm just going to mention one thing. I did give everybody a chance to review what the topics were prior to tonight, prior to our meeting. Workforce economic impact is the second one. Recruiting, training, and education is the third one. And the fourth one is improving the state financial situation, which encourages business to relocate here to Connecticut. So let's begin. The first topic, Connecticut's labor market. And under this topic, we have the availability of qualified workers has surfaced as one of the top challenges confronting employers in Connecticut. second only to the high cost of doing business, which we heard a few minutes ago in the state. It's a challenge that is certain to become increasingly significant in the coming years. As more and more baby boomers begin to retire and business seeks skilled professionals to replace them, Connecticut businesses are under pressure. So what can we do in the private sector and at the level of the state of Connecticut to minimize this issue? That is my first question. So I'm going to turn it over to a volunteer who would like to take it.
Well, I guess I'll start. When I was asked to sit on this panel here, I kind of forewarned everybody that I'm usually pretty straightforward about what I say, and sometimes I have the tendency to maybe offend some people. So that there's a good probability that I'll do that tonight. The Wilson Arms Company was founded in 1954. I purchased the company in 2007. We had 15 employees when I purchased the company. Today we have 52 in Connecticut, in Branford. I've expanded the business from one location to 2 facilities. We have approximately 5 to 6 times the revenues of when I purchased the company. With the exception, I would say, of a couple of people. One of them is Lindy, Terry Elton, who is always keeping people informed of what things are available to companies. I will tell you that, in my opinion, government needs to stay out of our business. I'm talking about some of too much regulations, too many taxes, very, very high cost of doing business, and consequently, I think it makes it very difficult, as someone at the last panel mentioned, that young people are moving out of Connecticut because it's too expensive to live here, regardless of how much you pay them. So, again, I have a bunch of notes. I didn't know you were going to go one by one, so I apologize. But anyway, I think that there's a good opportunity, and the challenge that we face right now is that as a manufacturer, I find myself looking for people, and I'm competing against companies, Pratt & Whitney, Sikorsky Aircraft, Electric Boat, for the kind of skilled people that I need. Those people are no longer in existence in the state of Connecticut. Most of them are retiring. A lot of, and the schooling today is not providing those technical skills. We need those technical skills here. Our government needs to bring more schools into the area to teach people that it is okay to be a machinist. It is okay to be a tool maker. I mentioned to someone here a little earlier, I paid $176,000 to a machine operator 2 years ago. A lot of it was in overtime because I couldn't hire enough people to do the work that I need. So I don't want to take all the time.
Okay. Thank you very much, Hugo. Any other comments from the panel? Buttrella.
I can give a different slant because we're kind of in a different business. We are in a service business. We are in the benefit administration area. We deal with healthcare benefits. We do pre-tax plans. We also do what they call benefit administrations, which is the ability to facilitate the enrollment process of benefits and the integration of those benefits with carriers. We also have a major line of business that deals with the Connecticut Taft-Hartley funds, which are your labor funds, your electricians, your plumbers, your operating engineers. And we represent to those funds products that have saved them literally millions of dollars. And the object there, obviously, is to save cost in healthcare to allow them to be more competitive with regard to their bidding and their opportunities. In our case, though, with regard to a labor force, though, we could grow our own labor force. We are not location dependent. We have products and we have services that are distributed throughout the United States. We have clients as far as California and as far down south as Florida. And we can grow our own people. What's important to us, therefore, is the education that comes to us so that we can then develop the people to learn our products. So we can internally train, we can assist, but we need a certain degree of capabilities. And one critical one is to be able to communicate both verbally and in writing. because we're always dealing with the public, we're dealing with people, we're trying to understand issues, and we're trying to respond to the requirements. So our business is really not location dependent, except for we do rely on this location to some extent for our resources, but we also have people who can work from home. We're a technology-based business, which means you can work from anywhere, and we do that from anywhere. We have people who work in the office, we have people who work at home, and whether they work in Connecticut or work outside of Connecticut really makes a difference because of the fact that we are a technology-based company. So what we're looking for is a marriage between what these students are coming out of colleges with, their abilities to understand business situations, their ability to look at data and understand how to deal with data and to understand data, interpret data, and not just be able to read, write, and add. So the ability to have what they call applied skills, which is more than just the 3 R's, becomes a critical dimension in the people that we would look for. So we're not a small company. We see good growth. We're growing on a nice, steady plane. We will add people. We will make the decisions based on the resources that are available to us. Do we bring them in-house, or do we basically have them operate remotely? And either way, we can service our client base. So one of the advantages that we have is the fact that we are really revenue location neutral. It's a little different.
Thank you, Bud. Okay, I'm going to go on to the next question, which is going to sound very similar to the first one, but it has, instead of doing with demographics, we're going to talk more about the skilled workers. So the availability of skilled workers has an important implication, both for Connecticut companies and the state's overall economy. Businesses need qualified people, as Hugo mentioned a few minutes ago, to fuel the expansion effort, as well as to replace the retiring people. Businesses that are unable to find workers that they need in Connecticut may have to cut back operations or consider relocation. The availability of qualified workers is very important in determining whether or not to expand or relocate to a new area. And this is intensifying demand for skilled workers to replace and support retirees, coupled with the exodus of young workers. So I'm going to ask Josh, because you're in a high-tech area, give us some of your thoughts in regards to what kind of difficulties you may be running into to get qualified people to help you develop your business.
Sure. So a little bit of background. So Core Informatics is a software company. We're honored to serve about 100 of the world's leading biopharma, bioscience companies around the world who use our software to increase the efficiency and the velocity of their research and development operations, ultimately helping them get life-changing therapeutics to market faster that hopefully will someday save the life of someone you know and love. And so it's a mission we take very seriously, we're very excited about. We operate right here in Branford, Connecticut. We've been growing very rapidly. We've grown from 15 people about 2 years ago to almost 100 now. We've been adding space. It's a company that's 10 years old. It was co-founded by Anthony Uzo and Jim Gregory, former software engineers from Neurogen Corporation. Probably a lot of people here remember Neurogen Corporation. They wrote a lot of the informatics software that helped fuel their great success in the late 90s and early 2000s. So we're really thrilled to be in Branford. We actually think Branford and Connecticut in general is a very strategic and advantageous place for us to be located. So I think things like cost of living is a very relative concept, or cost of doing business is a very relative concept. So companies like ours would more commonly be located in New York or Boston or Silicon Valley. So compared to those locations, it's actually incredibly affordable to grow a business here in Connecticut, and we're thrilled to be doing so. That said, the search for talent, and in particular software engineers in our case, is a real challenge. It's a challenge, by the way, that exists everywhere in the world right now. So the supply and demand for software engineering talent is completely out of whack. Some of you have probably heard the saying that software is eating the world, and that's absolutely true. And so the skills and the talents to be able to meet the demand for software development, software engineering is very, very acute. And there's, I think, a lot of momentum right now in terms of reshaping curriculum in schools, both K through 12, higher education, to bring software engineering, software development more to the fore. But I think nationally, we're really lagging in this area. This is not a statement specific to Connecticut. I think it's an opportunity for Connecticut, frankly, to really be more aggressive about how we're looking at curriculum, about how we're drawing students into the STEM disciplines in general. People have heard of STEM, science, engineering, technology, and math. These are the skills that are fueling innovation in the world today, that are driving growth, and therefore command very high salaries. The kinds of jobs that we want in this region, people who will stay at the Madison Beach Hotel, will shop at R.J. Julia, right? This is the kind of multiplier effect that we want. But interestingly, I've seen statistics that suggest that of the STEM majors in higher universities, only about less than 10% of them are actually focused in software engineering. Meanwhile, there's enormous demand. So this is an opportunity maybe for, at the local level even, to be thinking about curriculum. Certainly at the higher education level, I think it's a real opportunity for the state of Connecticut.
Thank you, Josh. I got a quick question for Kevin. Kevin, you're in a large organization in Yale hospital system. Does training, in regards to this question, in getting the right people, training, is that an important aspect of what Yale New Haven is involved with? Once you bring people in, give them the proper training to develop themselves.
Okay, so before I answer that, if you would allow me to kind of set the context just a tad. So Yale New Haven Hospital is part of a 3-hospital system that represents Yale New Haven Health System. And so Yale New Haven has about 15,000 employees. Bridgeport has about 2,200. Greenwich has about 1,500, and our corporate services has another 1,500. So you're looking at about 20,000 employees system-wide. And so out of those 20,000 employees, we run the gamut from everyone who would be as a service employee to a neurosurgeon, and everyone in between. And so we are constantly looking for professionals. We're looking for folks who are highly skilled in their professions, whether they're technicians, whether they are accountants, or whether or not they're suits such as myself, or whether or not they are individuals that are working in the OR supporting the neurosurgeons of the world. And so throughout that process, when we bring people in, yes, we do have ongoing training and development for them. We have something called the IFE, the Institute for Excellence, where we have in-house programs where we provide ongoing curriculum for our employee population so that they can increase their skill sets. We have SIM centers so that we can bring nursing applicants in and literally allow them to do everything from deliver a child with a simulation center to handling someone with a heart attack or dealing with a laboratory burn. And so we're able to work through all of that to be able to assess an individual's skill level before he or she is released into their job. And so that then allows us to be able to select the best folks that we can. We also have the benefit of having 4 little letters in front of our name that allow us to be able to bring people from all across the country. That magnet called Yale, we are key recipients of that. And so as we're looking for talent, we are blessed with the ability to look far and wide in order to get the very best talent that we can in order to be able to come in and care for you and other people in the community when you have to come and see us. The one thing that I would like to impress upon you is when we start looking at economic concerns and when we start looking at our community, what we need is the freedom to grow. The freedom to grow. And by that I mean that we heard our last panel, they were talking about taxes, they were talking about concerns. I don't know too many other businesses besides the business of healthcare where we rep 2/3 of our population who come in are paid to us by the government, okay? And so the government on Medicare is paying it 90 cents on the dollar. Medicaid, in the state of Connecticut, we are getting 28 cents on the dollar. 28 cents on the dollar. So if you want to really get sick, and Ted, I told you I was just gonna be honest here, but if you really want to get sick, when you look at this, Yale New Haven Health System is the largest tax payer in the state of Connecticut. We pay $180 million in state taxes in 2016, or we will pay. And what that represents is we are paying 72% of not our income, but on our revenue. So it's not our profits, as most businesses are taxed on. We are being taxed on our revenue. So at 72%, we're the highest taxpayer in the state of Connecticut. We, although we're hiring people, when we hired for Yale New Haven alone, it was 1,230 last year. System-wide, it was 2,237. Those are new positions that new people that we brought into our organization. We can't sustain that, paying these kinds of taxes. 72% is just not sustainable. So when you look at an organization of 20,000 people, and we're putting those kinds of tax burdens on that organization, which is solely in place to be able to provide for our community in terms of the health of its residents, something is wrong with that equation. And we need to examine that in order to be able to understand how we go forward.
Thank you very much, guys.
I know I won't be invited back here.
I got to say one thing. Everyone in this room appreciates that Yale New Haven Hospital is around the corner from us, so we could get the proper care we need to health issues that we all experience. But you had a question.
I want to put a perspective on what's just said. 66% of the revenue associated with the services provided are from the government. 10 cents, he said, 90 cents on the dollar, which means 10 cents short for the Medicare, and 72 cents short for the Medicaid. Now, there was a comment made earlier about the high cost of health care. In order for them to be whole, there's a third of the world left. If you take the Medicare and Medicaid out, you've got to pass that on. So for every dollar that they're short, the private sector is going to pick up $3, which is what's been driving healthcare since the 60s. I've been through all that stuff, where the major push in driving the private sector healthcare cost, and affects all of us doing business in this room, is the fact that the government isn't stepping up to its cost obligations for the services that is providing for the services, for the members that it's covering. At least cover its cost.
That is 100% accurate. 100% accurate. And when you look at the state of Connecticut, though, if we're concerned about our overall cost, there was a study by Zach Cooper that basically indicated that the state of Connecticut, the New Haven region, is 175th out of 306 national geographies. And so our healthcare cost for New Haven is in the middle, but it is still unsustainable for the reasons that you just heard, the way our current system is set up. We just can't continue along that manner.
Thank you very much. Very good points. Next item that I was thinking about has to do with recruiting, training, and education, but it has to do with a lot on benefits. Connecticut companies are using a number of strategies to attract and retain skilled workers. Incentives most often offered include enhancing the 401k program benefits, more competitive health insurance packages, in-house training, more competitive salaries, of course, flexible work schedules, tuition reimbursement, employee longevity incentives and awards. These are a variety of benefits that are being offered by companies to retain and to acquire skilled employees. How important are these benefits in your business, Hugo?
Well, it's actually pretty important. We are, again, a very small company. However, I offer my employees we pay 100% of their health insurance for all of our employees. We give them a 401k plan with a match. We give them a vacation, paid sick days, life insurance, dental insurance. I provide for safety shoes. And I have to stay competitive from a rate point of view. I have to stay competitive with, again, the companies that I mentioned in the past. So it is, I believe that our employees get a pretty nice, package for being a small company. And just to kind of go back a little bit on the health insurance, to give you a perspective, when I bought the company in 2007, I was paying approximately $250 per employee per month with a $1,000 deductible. Today I'm paying about $750 a month per employee with a $10,000 deductible. So it is a pretty difficult thing for me to go to my employees and say, geez, health insurance is going up, and I'm trying to stay competitive, but it's pretty tough to do that when, again, you're a relatively small company and you're surrounded by some pretty big companies. But it's a true fact. And we also have to train our own people, because there aren't enough people that are trained to do what we're doing. I wish I was in the enviable position of having 4 letters and the name, or have the enviable position of having people that can work outside, my facility, or people that are in the high-tech business that just, even though you're having difficulty, people that skill labor, the people that are working with their hands just do not exist anymore. And that's the people that we need to encourage, or the young people that we need to encourage, that you can make a very, very good living, if you go to a technical school. You'll have a secure job, you have good benefits. I like to think that my employees like me, so you have a good boss. And you can get on and live a pretty decent life here in Connecticut. Quite frankly, I love Connecticut. I've lived here since I was 12 years old. I brought 2 businesses here. Well, I bought one, and then I brought the one from Wisconsin here, because I love Connecticut. But it's very, very difficult day in and day out to justify staying in Connecticut, because it's just too expensive. All of these things are too expensive. Excuse me. And other states are given a lot of incentives for businesses to move out, as well as other countries. So I think we really need to think very hard how we're going to fix these problems here. And I think all of us collectively, as well as our leaders, collectively need to figure out a way to, make this thing happen, because it's a very difficult situation, and it's getting worse.
Thank you.
So we were honored actually last week to be recognized by the Hartford Business Journal as one of the best places to work in Connecticut. So it's pretty neat, in part because I think in part because we do offer a lot of those benefits that you mentioned before, but also in part, as all the business leaders here know, a lot of it has nothing to do with those kinds of perks. It has a lot to do with giving people interesting challenges to work on and really empowering them to be brilliant and to use the skills that they've acquired through their education. But one of the other things that I think is really important about attracting and retaining skilled workforce here in Connecticut is a theme that's been weaving a little bit through these panels I'm noticing today, which is looking at the half-full side of the glass that we have here in Connecticut and recognizing that success breeds success. And I think all of us as business leaders have some responsibility, yes, to challenge things that we think need to be improved, certainly, and our elected officials are here to listen. But I think we have a real responsibility to celebrate all the things that we have going for us and to make sure that people understand that this is a great place to live. The quality of life here is second to none. That's why we attract a lot of people to come here from New York, from other places, and to stay here. They can raise families here. They can send their kids to public schools here, bike to work here, all sorts of fabulous things. And I think it's up to us to celebrate those unique aspects of what we have in Connecticut, because people don't want to be around a lot of negativity, right? Especially people like the millennials and the real high-skilled people that we're looking to attract. They want to celebrate all the strengths of what we have here in Connecticut. And I think we all need to temper our criticism at times, deserved, of things that we need to improve, but also to really spend more time, I think, being positive about all the strengths that we have here in Connecticut that we should celebrate and build upon further in years to come. the way, one element of that is we should recognize the state actually has done a tremendous amount to help our business, to help Todd Arnold's Mount Sinai facility. We've received support from DECD. Lindy's here representing Commissioner Smith, who's been a fabulous advocate, Lonnie Reed, Ted, Jamie, others. Actually, people working really hard and doing some very creative things, I think, to stimulate job growth and retain jobs here in Connecticut. And oftentimes it's the negative news that gets the headlines, but there's a lot of really important work going on every day that we should also celebrate.
Thank you. We're running out of time. You guys did an excellent job and came up with a lot of good points. I hope it's helpful for everyone here. And at this time, our session has ended. And I want to thank you for your time and effort and good thinking that you brought forward tonight. The next panel is the final panel, Enhancing Our Real Estate and Infrastructure Assets. And Tim Geelan from the president of Guilford Savings Bank is going to monitor that panel. So Tim, I welcome you up.
I'm just going to call my panel up, please. While everybody's coming, we're well aware that we're the last panel before sampling some of the fine beverages here. A special thank you. Thank you, Senator. Thank you for the Chambers. Great event. Well attended, great venue. Special thank you to Phil, too. I believe one of your assistants, I think I got 72 emails from him making sure we were all set to go. So thank you, Phil. Thank you. And I owe a special thank you to Ed Crowley here to get ready for this. I had some of my colleagues from the bank come down Friday night to make sure that, you know, they say practice makes perfect. And so we had to come here on Friday night. It was mug night. And I don't have a mug yet. It's a big waiting list. So I actually emailed Ed and said, can you give me a hall pass? I got a bunch of people here. We got to practice. And he did. So thank you. I'm going to start off just by having each of you introduce yourself briefly, and then we're going to, similar to Al's presentation, just hit a couple questions, but then just try to keep it loose, jump in at any time. Marietta, can we start with you?
Sure. My name is Marietta Lee, and I am with the Lee Company in Westbrook, Connecticut. We're a 67-year-old family-owned business started by my grandfather. All of our manufacturing is done here in the state of Connecticut. We make miniature hydraulic components for aerospace, medical, and automotive industries, and we employ over 1,000 people here in the state.
Go ahead, Dave.
I'm David DeMayo. I'm president of the Pat Munger Construction Company. We're located here in Branford. We generally travel the state of Connecticut as commercial and industrial general contractors. We employ about 50 employees. And they come from different areas of the state. And I'm thankful to have all three people on this board as my customers.
That's great. And Dave's also recently on the board of the CBIA, right? Yes, so another perspective. You can hit him up afterwards. Thanks. Victor.
Yep, I'm Victor Casella. I'm president of American Polyfilm. We manufacture polyurethane film in Branford, Connecticut. We're a family-owned company. We employ about 17 people. We run 24 hours a day, 5 days a week here in Branford. And as Dave said, we just built a new building put up by Munger Construction, and we're very pleased with our new location. We just moved in.
And who's your bank that helped you?
Pardon me, financed by Guilford Savings Bank.
Okay. Who's Ed?
Good evening. My name is Ed Crowley. I'm with Stony Creek Brewery. For those of you who are first-time visitors this evening, could you raise your hand? We love to have you here. Thank you very, very much for coming to Stony Creek. It's all about the beer in our world. I've been in the beer business for 42 years now. I started right out of high school. I was fortunate. I got a job right away in the southwest of Detroit, Michigan, right out of high school. I was one of those kids. My dad said, go get a job. So I got a job, and I'm here in front of you tonight. So I've been a beer distributor for 38 years, and my wife and I have owned Stony Creek Brewery. This will be our fifth year in business. This is our first year at this location. And Pat Munger Construction and Dave DeMeo built this building. We're proud that Dave built this building. He has done an amazing job. I'm also very proud that 96% of all of our expenses that we paid for this building, you know, from Munger, from Dave's firm, we employed Brantford electricians, Brantford lighting folks, Brantford contractors, Brantford architects, Brantford legal team. 96% of all of our expenses on this building were Brantford people. And I'm so proud of that because we have seen 96 of those, every one of those contractors or vendors or partners come in here almost every week. They bring the electrician, the plumbers, they bring their mom, they bring their dad, they bring their grandma, and they show them what they built. We could have built the building cheaper, but there is no way. I've known David for a long, long time. And I knew that there was the quality of a Brantford builder right here. And we will always remember that. But it's very special when you can tell everyone when their mom and dad or grandma comes in and you show them and we talk to them. And you can just tell. And it's paid tenfold by keeping it local. When you say shop local, keep your contractors local. It's pretty powerful.
That's great. Okay, our focus is on enhancing our real estate and infrastructure assets. I'm going to start with a question. I'll pose it to Dave to start. What are the key drivers for commercial real estate development?
Well, it does vary to some degree, but most recently we see a lot of companies struggling to maintain the bottom line. A lot of competition, a lot of gnats pulling at your bottom line, pulling money out from you. So trying to improve efficiencies of operation so that they can maintain that bottom line. I mean, you could always go out and we always want to grow business, but do you grow business and just lower your profits just to say you've got that increased revenue? A lot of our customers are looking from the inside and saying, how can I improve my efficiencies? We have a solar division. So we look at energy improvements for clients. We look at space planning. We look at efficiencies of operation in terms of time and motion and try to find ways of improving just the bottom line without necessarily growing the top line yet. So that's one of the key drivers that we see.
Great. Great. Anybody else in the panel want to chime in on that one?
Well, I found it the financing, availability of financing was a big driver for us, and I think we were fortunate to get SBA 504 financing, which is 40%, allows 40% of the financing to be fixed rate for 20 years, and it was under 5%, and another 50% we were able to get fixed rate for 10 years, under 5%. So this government-supported SBA 504 program was terrific. There's grants available too. We got energy efficiency grants for our building at $3 a square foot for energy exceeding the energy requirements of the state of Connecticut, and we've got grants from the Community Development, Community Investment Corp for adding employees too. So these were very helpful in our building, our new building and expanding.
Great, great. Marietta, I'm going to come to you with this one. What are the major obstacles to development?
Well, the major obstacles of development, we need to be able to grow. And we need to have a healthy economy here in the state of Connecticut in order for our business to be able to grow. We need to have business-friendly taxes. And we're in an environment where we're not seeing that at all. And I'm looking out in the audience, I see a lot of people out there that I know. I see my lawyer, my accountant, my neighbors. Those of you that know me know that I'm a glass half empty kind of gal. You want someone to tell you like it is, and I'm your gal. I'm not one to sugarcoat anything. If you ask me, does this dress make my butt look fat, I'm going to tell you yes. If you ask me if Connecticut is a good state to do business in, I'm going to tell you, well, actually it sucks. So you can imagine how surprised I was when I was asked to speak at an economic collaborative summit on Connecticut's economy. And this strategic planning summit is lovely, but none of this really means squat until Connecticut gets its house in order. The legislatures need to get to Hartford and make some huge, difficult, and controversial cuts in spending, and they need to stop overspending and stop raising taxes. And until that happens, in my opinion, all this strategic planning that we're doing here means nothing. Businesses are moving out of the state of Connecticut at an alarming rate, and those of us who are staying here are left to shoulder the burden. And we at the Lee Company get calls every single day from other states asking us to move. They're offering us incentives, a skilled workforce, low taxes, and the list goes on. And frankly, it's insane that we don't move, but we're committed to stay here in Connecticut, at least for now. You've all heard about the state making deals with companies related to new buildings and job creations, and we at the Lee Company talked about these deals at very high levels for a long time, and nobody wanted to get in bed with the state. We wanted the state to offer tax relief to all businesses, not just select few that have the wherewithal to cut these deals with the state. But in the end, we wound up, after a lot of deliberation, to go ahead and work with the state and cut a deal. We felt that we really owed it to our employees and to our shareholders. And if we didn't take the money, some other company was going to take it. So we did. And we worked with the DECD and we cut a $10 million deal. So for $10 million, we agreed to do two things. Spend $25 million in buildings and equipment, which we did, no problem. We've already met that requirement. And we agreed to create 200 new jobs here in the state of Connecticut. And we are on our way to doing that, but we are seeing some economic woes with the oil market and such that impacts our business. And so we may not meet those numbers. We're in the middle of a 5-year deal with the state, and we haven't seen any money from the state as of yet. So I can tell you that we're not going to cut another deal with the state in the future. We want the state to give tax relief to all businesses, not just the big businesses that work out these fancy deals with the state, but all businesses. And, you know, all of us face many challenges running our businesses. We have health insurance costs, we have energy costs, we have environmental regulations, and the list goes on. And in order for us to grow, we need Connecticut legislatures to cut spending, get Connecticut's house in order, cut taxes to Connecticut's businesses, and allow Connecticut's businesses to grow and thrive.
Gentlemen, any of you want to follow up? Any perspective on that?
Well, I would say we do have one benefit as manufacturers. We get a personal property tax relief on all our manufacturing equipment. So the state does give us one benefit that I can point out that really is helpful to us.
Great, great. Anything, just to follow up on any obstacles outside of what Marietta expressed?
Well, you know, there's always, I think we all cry about the regulatory issues that we face. I'm going to focus on the building permit process because that is one area that we really struggle with. It takes forever to get building permits. And I honestly don't understand why it's so challenging, but right out of the hopper, the state building code allows 30 days for plan review on projects. That's just for the review. You don't have any comments yet. In the meantime, we've got customers that are chafing at the bit. I've got employees that need to go to work. And after 30 days, we'll get a list of comments. And then we've got to go through the process again. There's also filing with the building permit just doesn't, it should mean that we just go to the building department, we bring them everything they need, and they shepherd it through all their departments. A lot of towns and cities require that we make appointments with planning and zoning. This is after it's got planning and zoning approval. We got to make an appointment with planning and zoning officer, and we got to get that signed off. And if they're not available, we got to wait a week for them to be available. And I can't do anything else in the meantime. So this process goes on and on and on. And when you get into where it's difficult to park and we want to do business in New Haven and we got to go to the city hall 5 times just to get a permit process going, that's ridiculous. I don't get paid for that. I lose a key person out of my organization for an invaluable amount of hours trying to get building permits. And there's just no reason for it.
And can I chime in here?
Absolutely.
Dave, we've worked on some projects with Dave, and we've run into issues where we have to go through the State Traffic Commission. So the State Traffic Commission is going to look at, okay, you're going to add 100 jobs to this building. And, you know, the state road that's nearby might be impacted. And, well, you know, that road's kind of falling apart and not big enough. So if you want to build a new building and create 100 new jobs, you're going to have to widen that road, put in a traffic light. One intersection may have 4 traffic lights. Those traffic lights are $300,000 each that the builder of a building that's trying to create jobs has to pay for. The state of Connecticut, in many cases, is not paying for that.
Yeah, please.
If I can add a couple comments. When you talk about the key drivers to development, and when I was starting to take a look at the questions that you were going to ask, oh, by the way, Tommy Gagliardi did say that my jeans made my butt look big. So I just want everybody to know that, because Tom is that way. But anyway, on the key drivers, when we looked at this particular site, when we were thinking about building Stony Creek Brewery, we went around and looked at current industrial buildings, because that's what breweries do. They go into industrial buildings. And we decided, we looked at a couple, and it just wasn't our fit. So we always came back to this site. And when we came back to this site, we decided that, okay, we went up on a 35-foot bucket truck that Dave provided, and we said, okay, this is where our deck is going to be. And we looked left and looked right and said, okay, let's go for this one. So this is how we started. Then I realized that we were in a flood zone, and this is a brownfield. And so, you know, I'm not sure what I know about commercial development, but it seemed to work out right now. Through David's help and guidance through the town, we had permitting issues with the town on a but it was just approval process. The first time we went in planning and zoning, they approved this, our first time. So that was, from our standpoint, was a benefit. When we went into the federal approval process, because being a brewery, you have to get federal approvals. So when we were told that we were going to get, our brewery permit was going to take us 60 to 90 days. And, okay, well, we backed that in to when we were going to open up. And then all of a sudden, that 60 to 90 days turned into 9 months to 1 year. That can kind of mess up an opening. Especially when you have jobs at stake, like everybody was talking about up here. So when I didn't know where to turn, so I called Senator Blumenthal, and there was a beautiful article written today in the Brantford Eagle about Senator's visit yesterday or 2 days ago. Dick jumped in and he helped out. I mean, he literally took the bull by the horns and got our permit within 30 days. So that was spectacular. So, I guess, you have to network. You have to come to these meetings. You have to, Go out and make sure that you know people on the federal level. Majority of us in this room do. Or, everybody knows, Lonnie Reed was very helpful. Ted was very helpful. Senator Meyer, before Ted, was very helpful in this whole process. So it worked out from that standpoint. From an obstacle standpoint, environmental is an issue, and my environmentalist, Jeff Brown, is here, who's done a marvelous job working with us. From a layman's standpoint, I get lost a lot, and Jeff will be the first one to tell you when he comes to meet with me. He's got to give it to me in small little bits and pieces because I don't understand it. All I know is it costs a hell of a lot of money, and it just keeps on giving. So we need to take a look at that. Those are old, everybody wants to protect the environment, especially on the riverfront. I totally understand it and respect it. But we need to have a clear understanding in layman's terms as to what the environmental means.
Great. You touched on, I guess, some collaboration with the government. Is there anything else that any of you want to offer as far as how we can work more collaboratively with our government to push the economy forward? Go.
I had made some notes, as you might expect, but regulations, right away when people hear about regulations, they get all clammed up. And, I think there has to be a better communication. Not just because it's a regulation doesn't mean it's a bad thing, but I don't think that everybody, including myself, understand what the regulation was put in place to achieve. So I think, and I don't know how to accomplish this, but a better line of communication to explain to the building owner, what does this regulation mean? Why is it in existence? What is the purpose? So that they can, because right now the regulation is perceived as a loss of right. I own this property, I should have the right to do this. But let's understand what the regulations really were designed to do so that we could all work together. And I think that would go a long way in even pushing that whole process forward.
Victor, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I'd like to add that, to what Ed said about working with the town of Branford. I found it very easy to deal with the planning and zoning, the zoning board of appeals, and so my experience with the town was very good. So it was a positive experience. On the negative side, we had difficulty finding vacant land to build on, which is very scarce. Right now, there are some areas that are available but are not developed for industrial development yet. But right now, we did find one spot finally, but it took a while to find an empty lot. 5 acres is what we got. So that was a difficult part of our development.
Great. Marietta, anything specifically where you see collaboration?
No, but I don't like to hear about, when they tried to open this brewery that you had to pull strings and contact people that you knew to get the process moving. I mean, if Connecticut wants us to create jobs and open businesses, let's all work on the same team. It shouldn't be adversarial or nobody should be dragging their feet. The workers in the state of Connecticut who were in charge of getting you whatever they needed to get you should have been under an edict to make it as easy as possible. I'm not saying, skip any hurdles that you had to, any requirements you had to fulfill, but, it should be easier.
Okay, we'll hit the last one. To what extent do you believe that this region is dependent upon New Haven and New York City as far as for economic growth?
Well, I'll start. We just celebrated our first 12 months in business in March. And we've been very, very fortunate with Stony Creek Brewery, with the location, with our products, and just the whole scene in Brantford right now. But in our first 12 months, we're proud to say that we've had over 294,000 people come through this facility in 12 months. So, and we get that number through our point of sale system and things like that, or all of our tracking. So when it comes to regional success, we think that, you know, when we brought in those people to enjoy Stony Creek Brewery on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, they're staying an average of 2 hours. So there's not too many places that people hang out and enjoy themselves for 2 hours on a Saturday. So that's the average time that they spend. We're gearing up for the summer of this summer. For our attendance, we're looking at a 20% growth because we really didn't know what we were doing last summer. If you were here, I'm sorry, we weren't good. We were pretty bad, and the site made us look good, but we weren't that good. So we're going to be better this summer. And what's happening now is because of the success of this site in this location, we have now expedited our growth pattern. And now we rolled out into the city of Boston last Monday. We weren't going to go into Massachusetts for another 2 years, but we're getting a lot of people from Massachusetts coming down to visit Brantford and Stony Creek Beer. So it's a natural fit. Now our next step, and one of your questions, Tim, is New York. We're going into New York in the fall because we're getting a lot of New Yorkers coming up on day trips. Don't think, and a lot of people on the Shoreline, Madison Beach Hotel and all the hotels and all the great businesses, and I keep telling this to our group, that, hey, there's nothing that's going to stop the Shoreline from being the next small little Hamptons. You can't go to the Hamptons without spending a boatload of money, but you certainly can come to Madison. You certainly can come to Brantford. You can stay at the Madison Beach Hotel for 4 days and have a hell of a day, have a nice weekend, and enjoy everything that's going on. The one thing that lacks, in my view, and I'll get off, is the transportation. Shoreline East is awesome. Going from Brantford, you can take Shoreline East. We're looking from an entity of some type of trolley system that we can move people from the brewery down to Stony Creek to the boat piers, because there's no parking down at Stony Creek. Those are two big attractions that the town of Brantford has. The sea mist in the summertime and the brewery right now. We need to go out of Brantford. We need to be able to take people into Madison, Clinton, and Westbrook. And then New Haven, it's a great market for us, especially the older college students. We get a lot of them, but we need some type of transportation for them. So.
Great. Bill, want to hit that one?
Well, we export about 22% of what we make, and so we depend on the Port of New York and New Jersey. So it's important to our business, and even to the extent where we export to China, where we send goods to the Port of New York and New Jersey, they go by rail to Long Beach and get exported to China. So it's a very important piece of our business.
Great. I think we have 3 minutes maybe. If anybody want to, off topic here, anything you want to add as far as perspective for this forum? Marietta, you go last.
Oh, no, I don't want to be the last speaker of the whole thing. No. I think I've said my piece. I think, I think we just got to get our act together, and I think it's going to take a long time for Connecticut to rebuild and be a good place to do business. It's not going to be something that we see overnight. I think it's going to be decades. And I think it's up to those of us in this room to stick it out and work with the government and the legislatures to help them to make it happen. But I do believe it can happen, but it's going to take a lot of work, and it's a long road.
Great. Well, thanks for keeping your company here. We hear great things at the bank, and be ashamed to lose you. Dave, anything?
It was just real quickly. It was hit on in one of the other panel discussions, but the challenge of skilled workforce. That certainly impacts us, and I would like to see a program where companies are given some significant tax credits for taking the responsibility of training employees themselves. I think I'd rather train my own employees than have the school system do it. But let's make it so. Let's make it make sense to us to do that. Because I'd love to be able to pull people in, have a good education program, set up a good mentoring program. That costs money, and it's going to take my key skilled people an investment of time, and they may not be fully productive on jobs. So it's that whole, it's a process. But I think that I would much rather take control of my own destiny and my skilled workforce that way. I mean, we're doing succession planning at Munger, 2 generations beyond me right now. At least trying to lay the groundwork for it. But, where are those people going to come from? And we would love to have our own sustainable education program within our company. And I need some help to do that.
Great. Victor, anything?
Nothing more.
Okay, Ed?
Last thing that I think one of the panels earlier talked about housing. We're fortunate, in my view, that since Stony Creek was built last year, it took us 10 months, or it took Dave 10 months to build this facility, which is awesome. He was under a lot of pressure, and I apologize publicly. When you come up with, in an area like this, especially on the shoreline, we all have great little pockets around train stations. Train stations can be a tremendous opportunity for a transit-oriented development district, which this particular Brantford now is getting into that. We're fortunate that we have, I think there's 200 apartments moving in over the next couple years over at the development of the old Atlantic Wire, and I think the 2 gentlemen are here, Bob Smith and Earl Tucker, the 2 driving forces behind that. That's all going to stimulate. I just can't, I'm so excited for that project to start and be done with, because it's gonna stimulate the town, probably 5-fold more than Stony Creek Brewery. When we bring in those 290-some thousand people, they're spending a lot of money at the Lobster Shack. They're spending a lot of money at Lenny's or at Nellie Green's. They're walking into town. And that's kind of what we wanted to do here. We wanted people to come in, enjoy it, park their car, and walk into town. And that stimulates everybody.
Great. Please join me in thanking our panel.
Thank you to the panel, and let's give another round of applause for our hosts tonight, Ed Crowley. I just want to make sure that we say thank you to the people who made this event possible. We want to thank, and I'd like to ask everybody to stand up and wave, because I want everyone here to know who the people are on the shoreline that are responsible for economic development here. Brian McClone from the Guilford Economic Development. Thank you, Brian. Terry Elton here from Brantford. Terry, there he is. Thank you, Terry. Ryan Duquesne, where's Ryan? There's Ryan from Madison Economic Development Commission. Perry Maresca, Brantford's own Perry Maresca, there he is in the back. Again, if you have an issue in your town, these are the individuals who you need to speak to who can help you solve your business issue. Ed Lazarus, of course, from the Shoreline Chamber. I've mentioned Ed Crowley, of course, our host tonight, and a very special thanks to Brendan Bloom from La Cuisine for this amazing food tonight. Thank you very much. I'm sorry? Dessert is being served. Oh, I guess dessert is being served downstairs. Thank you, Brendan, for your generosity. And again, Lindy Lee Gold, please stand up and say hello. Please, before you leave, please make sure you say hello to Lindy.
Okay, and I invited Marietta. And I'm glad I did.
Thank you all very much for coming.
Thank you. They're going to be collecting the evaluation forms in the back of the room, so please make sure you drop those off. Thank you.